Marcia Week Show, and we're coming to you live from Barbados. Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Weeks Show. So great to be here with you again. I see people are logging on already. Oh, wow. Oh, Melissa. Oh, great, great to have you, Melissa. How was your week? How was your week? Please share. I know Saturday people are out doing their shopping and taking care, and we just want people to take care of themselves and be careful out there today. As we're all trying here to make sure that we protect ourselves from that virus. Yes. So welcome, Melissa. Welcome, 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 welcome. And I'm going to ask you to share. Please share. And today I'm going to have my husband with me today again. I'm excited. I'm excited. Dave is going to be with me again, and we are going to talk a bit about what is behind this pandemic. All right. Hey, Johnson from Brooklyn. I remember you from last week. Last week's show was so amazing. Last week, Saturday, as we talked about technology. So I'm going to, Dave is right here. Hey, Dave. Good
Hey,
morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, it went well. Okay, you had a good week, Melissa. And you're working from home now. Yes. Well, I've been working from home for a little bit, and you get some. It takes some getting used to. Take some getting used to. But it's important. We have to protect ourselves and do all that we can do. Do all that. Listen, I have a story to tell you guys of a woman. She's over 90 years old, and who caught the COVID virus. And through, you know what? She didn't even go to the doctor. She didn't even go to the, believe it or not, didn't go to the doctor, but there's a product that is out there that I'm going to talk to you about this morning that she was able to use and was, recovered, and doing well, doing well. Guys, please share. Dave, are you there? Are you ready?
I'm here. I'm right here, live in color, in my dark skin color.
Yes, it's so good to have you again this week with me on
It's
this
good to be
week.
here.
Yes, and I've gotten so many calls about the show last week that you
Okay.
did, and as you talked about the Tower of Babel,
Mm.
and a lot of people didn't understand with the languages and understanding the computer languages and how the similarities with that, and what the plan of what they're planning for us right now. Can you just do a little recap of last week's show? Just take a couple minutes and give us a summary.
Okay. Well, what we looked at was the whole concept of data and the importance of data in the future world. Um, the whole concept of data mining and gathering as much information as possible to run these programs. So the programs need data, and once they can mine that data from your lifestyle, the things that you do on a daily basis that you don't really think about are so mundane to you, but to them it's precious. Then they have the foundation on which they can do whatever they choose to do. Once they have the mechanism now to tap into that data, and once there's a way that they can control you using the data, then they've gone to town. They're good to go. So that's the plan. That's where the world is headed, in terms of the ability to manipulate our daily activities. That's pretty much an established fact. To be able to control the population of the world, the size of the world population,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to manipulate the resources of the world. Since that program, I saw another bit of information about the manipulation of crops um, yeah, crops, so that they are able to go into the DNA of crops of plants and fruits and various vegetables and manipulate the crops. And I was so upset that they're able to do that in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess for another program, and they said that there's a whole stream of DNA manipulation against Black people, which we know is nothing new. That's happened so many times, but that's a whole other program. But the essence of what I was trying to get over is that um, the the QR code is a doorway into gathering into giving them access to your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a doorway. It's a mechanism, and they're going to develop that further and further until they achieve their objectives. Pretty much.
Yes, yes. And can you talk about one more time about that Tower of Babel,
Oh
and
yeah.
in a nutshell, give us yeah.
Yeah, if you remember the story of the Tower of Babel, where the people of that time were so engrossed in themselves, they were so, they believed in themselves. They believed that they were it, and therefore they wanted to build this monument in honor of themselves and to give themselves more, make themselves famous and to make a name for themselves, and that displeased God, and they decided to build this huge tower, and they said into the skies. But what God did, well, God is so smart. God knew that the essence of it all was communication. They had to be able to communicate to do that. Whatever mechanisms they had in those days, which was language. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
have any computers or any Wi-Fi, so their communication was strictly language. So
Mm-hmm.
God messed up the language, so that they couldn't understand each other, and that messed up the progress. So I was saying that um, today communication is still the linchpin, is the key to
Mm-hmm.
achieving anything. We depend on communication more now than anything else. For us to be on this call, on this StreamYard call, is communication, so that when I speak, you can hear me wherever in the world you are, and that's communication. It's using networks, and I was saying that it is easy. It's easy for God to mess up the networks.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for God to mess up the networks. You know what happens when a flow cable under the sea breaks. You've experienced that when the flow cables under the ocean is damaged by a ship or by whatever. We all know what happened when the monkey damaged the light and power cable. I mean, it's so very, our technology is very fragile, very very fragile. It's not robust, and therefore it's not a big deal for God to confuse our communications. So there's no need to fear. Um, we just have to trust God and do what we are supposed to do, and be faithful to Him, and He'll be faithful to us as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and as you're talking about that, Dave, I remember what the plans of the World Economic Forum is that by 2023, that what they plan to what they sorry 2030,
2030.
2030, I'm sorry, 2030, the plans that they have, where they say that we will own nothing and we'll be happy. So they want to
Mhm.
completely change the world. They want to, their plan really is to, as they say, is to reset the world. And so they are now taking everything in their own hands as though they created it. And
Mhm.
they are
Mhm.
saying that we need a reset. And
Mhm.
one of the ways that they're planning to do this is through what they're calling, climate change,
Mhm.
climate control. And we know that we just had the summit, which I want us to look at, the summit in Glasgow, where majority of the nations were present. Dave, I'm not sure if you saw that, where the UN climate change conference was in Glasgow, And this is just a picture of it, all the various countries, almost every country in the world represented there, right? And there were some topics that they touched on. In fact, it's saying here that over 120 countries gathered for the summit. Right. This is what the United Nations Secretary General said. Right. And so they came together and they were discussing many things. And here this is a picture of Biden calling for tougher action on emissions and he promises job gains worldwide. Well, that's what he's saying. And there are lots of things that they agreed on in that summit. And somebody looking at it, and it looks our own Prime Minister Mia Mottley, she spoke at that conference as well. We can see where the Prime Minister of Jamaica was there as well. And here is what I'm looking for. Um, these are the main points of this summit. One is that they're saying we're digging our own graves with the planet in peril. Leaders appeal for urgent action. Biden calls for tougher action on emissions and promises job gains worldwide. U.S. officials assail an absent China as the summit kicks off. So apparently China wasn't there. Narendra Modi says India will sharply increase renewable energy. The UN leader warns that the world faces a climate catastrophe. From the Amazon to Glasgow, an indigenous activist says we have no more time. Tiny island nations most at risk from warming rebuke big countries that could decide their fate. And Greta Thunberg joins a protest in Glasgow. So these are some of the highlights from that summit. And the thing is, Dave, that one of the things that we're not going to see there, which we're going to discuss on this program, is about population control. Hi, Hammer Films from Antigua. That's my great friend from Antigua, another filmmaker. And we're seeing our. I'm getting a feedback. I don't know if Dave could turn. Yeah. Yes, right. So what I'm seeing is that our leaders, they're all congregating. They all went to this thing and this conference, and I'm sitting waiting to see what is going to happen, because there is a direct link, guys, with this whole issue and concern about climate change and climate control with population control. And this is what we have to understand. There is a connection with the whole climate control, population control, and COVID-19, and that's what we want to discuss today. And you know what? We have the link out there, and you are free to come in. You're free to come into the studio and let's have this conversation. Because it is very, very important. I don't know, Dave, did you see there was a video with the famous Bill Gates, that has been going around, something that was done many, many years ago, and he outlined really what it would take for there to be population control. I don't know, did you see that video, Dave?
No, I don't think I saw that one.
Yes, I'm going to share something from him this morning as well. But this is an important topic. This topic this morning is extremely important because we're seeing that our leaders are so it's, as I said, they're puppets. Whatever is happening globally, they're no longer governing their nations. And we just have to take a look at at what is happening in the world, and we recognize what is causing that kind of behavior, for them to behave in a group. Basically is what they're doing. They're behaving in a group. Yeah. So in the meantime, Dave, any comments about that?
Yeah, don't forget when we if we go back to our own African history, remember the Berlin Conference, how they all Europe came together as a group, and they decided as a group how they're going to divide Africa and split Africa into the different countries that we know today. And that was done not by one single individual, but by the European leaders all coming together in a similar fashion. So there's always a singular motive that stimulates these unified actions. And in that case, it was wealth. It was the exploitation of the continent of Africa.
Mm-hmm,
And uh, why would we think that anything has changed since then? Nothing has changed. So that those underlying motivations are still continuing today. And as you delve further into what we are seeing, we're going to be looking for those motivations and trying to thwart them this time and not allow ourselves to be caught like how back then I guess most we weren't aware, we weren't conscious that these sinister motives were even possible. We
mm-hmm,
didn't even think that people would go to a conference and plan on how to exploit a whole continent. We couldn't even conceive of that notion. But now we know it's possible. Now we know all of the wicked things that were done, the experiments that were done. So it's very clear that leaders are not really, they don't really care about the people, about the masses. It's
mm-hmm,
clear, it's been established that there's not a whole lot of care about the average human being. Humanity, they talk about humanity, but it's out one mouth, and then on another side, they say that the actions are so different. So, we need to learn from history. We need to learn from what happened in the past and be able to be prepared and ready to counter the things that they're planning. Obviously, not the good, the bad thing about it is that um, it's all under the surface. It's all under the surface. They're not going to come out and say, "Well, we are going to decrease the population of the world by X billion." You
mm-hmm,
know, they're not going to come and say, "Well, we are wiping out 50% of the Caribbean. We're going to wipe out 60% of Africa. We're going to wipe." No, they're not going to say that. They're going to use seemingly innocent methods and strategies, but we have to look deeper than the surface to see what is really the motivation and what they really really want to do, what they're really planning. and and
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
there are organizations that are seeking to counter what they're doing. So we just have to tap into these things and understand and try to do what we can, to put up that resistance.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Correct, correct. And I'm actually, as you're talking, I'm actually here. I'm trying to find back my space, my the document that I want to share, because that in that document is very very important. And I got caught up in what you were saying, because, and I'm seeing here Hammer Films is saying, if they could come together to carve up Africa, we must know that anything is possible. Correct, correct, right? And that is what they did. They carved up Africa. I love how you said that, because that's exactly what they did. And so that is, it's very very possible. The article is coming right up now, and it should be right here. Okay, here we go again. And this article, from the Center for Biological Diversity, talks about human population growth and climate change. Now, we might hear a lot where they're saying that, okay, we are going to have to we're going to go green. So just before the pandemic, we were asked to stop using plastic, and we all the different things that we were asked to do. We have to recycle and so on. But what a lot of people don't know is that one of the objectives of this whole climate change and climate control is population control. That is, they are putting this as one of the ways that we can control this climate change, or we can achieve climate control, it is through depopulation. It's through less people living on planet Earth. Okay, so this article says the largest threat to ecology and biodiversity of the planet in the decades to come will be global climate disruption due to buildup of human generated greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. People around the world are beginning to address the problem by reducing their carbon footprint through less consumption and better technology. But unsustainable human population growth can overwhelm those efforts, leading us to conclude that we not only need smaller footprints, but fewer feet. You heard that? We not only need smaller footprints but fewer feet. So there is that notion there that as much as we're going to all the efforts that we're going to do to reduce the carbon footprint through less consumption and better technology, that ultimately really we really need fewer feet, we need less people, right? And the study goes on, and you can see, you could take a screenshot of this and find it, and take a read of this yourself, because I've been hearing about climate change, climate control, and at no point did I ever think that this would be connected to having less people on the earth, right? One of the study's author, Paul Murtaugh, warned that in discussions about climate change, we tend to focus on carbon emissions of an individual over his or her lifetime. Those are important, he says, important issues, and it's essential that they should be considered. But an added challenge facing us is continuing population growth and increasing global consumption of resources. He says the challenge is the continuing population growth and increasing global consumption of resources. Future growth amplifies the consequences of people's reproductive choices today, the same way that compound interest applies to a bank balance. Dave, were you ever, I mean, in all of the promotion and everything that they had to say to us about, um, you know, uh, climate change and climate control and going green, did you ever hear about depopulation?
Never, never. It was not on the surface, of course, and it sounds so good. And they're pumping so many millions of dollars into this climate change. So many summits and
Mm-hmm,
meetings about climate change, and we would think that they're really talking about climate change, and that was it, you know. But as you dig deeper, there is ulterior motives, and someone like Bill Gates, who is so much into the same topic. He's known as eugenicist. He
mm-hmm,
is established that his modus operandi is about population control, and that's why he's poured so much millions of dollars into this whole concept, this whole thing. Um, and if I would read the definition of eugenics, it says it's the pseudoscience of trying to improve the population by preventing people thought to have inferior genes from having children.
mm-hmm,
Right? The pseudoscience of trying to improve the population, right? By preventing people thought to have inferior genes,
mm-hmm.
right? From having children. And who in the world are thought to have inferior genes than black people? So
Wow.
we're a target. So you guys, we have a lot of work to do. As I said last week, our ancestors went through too much for us to have to go through the same thing all over again, all
Mm-hmm,
over again. So yes, Marcia, as I'm thankful to you for opening up this Pandora box, and helping us to see this whole climate change, and climate control concept and philosophy through different lenses. If I can share one of our family jokes to the people, you see those glasses she's wearing there, guys? I woke up early in the morning, and we wake up early to pray. And I woke up early in the morning, it was dark, and I stumbled and picked up a pair of glasses, and I put them on. I went to read the stuff on my phone. I said, but I'm not seeing properly. I got so concerned. I got really, really concerned. Oh gosh, my eyesight is getting worse. My eyesight is getting worse. I got to go to the optician and see what's happening to my eyes. And I was really, really, really concerned. I said, God, no, you know. And then I got up, went to the bathroom, had to turn on the light. When I looked, it was Marcia's glasses I was wearing. And of course, it wouldn't work because I was looking through the wrong lenses. I was when I got my glasses, I said, "Oh, everything is fine. Ah, thank God, I'm good." So we have to pick up the right lenses and look at what the information is before us through the right lenses. If we use the wrong, if we continue to use those colonial lenses that we've been trained to work with to look through, then we're always going to pick up the wrong information. We're always going to have the wrong allegiances. We're always going to be following and trying to play catch up and playing, master and servant,
Mhm.
in a world that really does not have our best interests at heart. So we really have to pick up the right lenses. And thanks to this program that Marcy is hosting, that's helping us to shift, to change our lenses. Pick up the right lenses so you won't stumble around in the dark. So we can see properly. So yes, Marcy, I think I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I'm looking at an article here, and it's by Nicole Martellaro, and this is something that I'm seeing on CBC, actually, CBS, right? And it was since 2019, October 31st, 2019, and I'm not in a position to show it to you, but I can read some of the excerpts from it. And it says that some people believe that the world is too crowded and keeping a lid on population growth could be an answer to battling climate change. Let me read that again. Some people believe that the world is too crowded and keeping a lid on population growth could be an answer to battling climate change. Right? This is what the experts are saying. Climate change, you're saying, has taken global center stage in recent months, following three reports by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that paint a dire picture of the future should governments fail to take action on reducing gas emissions, which is why they had that summit in Glasgow, that conference in Glasgow, where 120 nations, attended. And they were talking about climate change. And one of the things, as we're saying, is that one of their objective is dealing with population growth, because they believe, this is a belief of these people, that many of these experts, that this is really the true way that you're going to get the climate change under control. The argument is that if there were fewer people on planet Earth, greenhouse gases would be reduced and climate change could be averted. Right? These are the things that they believe. Right? And what they're looking at, and I'm so sorry I can't show you this graph this morning, but they're showing you that between 1804 to 1927, it really took 123 years for there to be any great change in the Earth's population. So we moved from 1 billion to 2 billion people over 123 years, right? But between 1927 to 2011, you know what? We moved from 2 billion to 7 billion people on planet Earth. And so this is really what is troubling for them. And they are believing, you see, they're not playing God. They're believing that the way they have to save the earth, and the way that they save the earth is to reduce the population. Right? That is the thinking, that the way that we're going to well, the way we're going to reduce we're going to save the earth is to reduce the population. Now, what they said is that the global birth rates are declining. So if the global birth rates are declining, what is causing our population growth rate to be increasing if the global birth rates are declining. The United Nations had previously projected that the global population would reach 11.2 billion by 2100. However, the United Nations, so that's what they're saying, that we're going to reach to 11.2 billion by 2100, right? And they're saying fertility rates are dropping for the most part worldwide. In fact, you have even young people who are making decisions. There is this called a draconian pledge that is made by some of our young people, saying that, listen, in order for us to save the planet, we're not going to have children. This is the thinking. We're not even going to have children because we need to save the planet, right? That is the thinking that is out there. And so the through though global population has been rising steadily, birth rates are declining in many parts of the world, right? China's one-third policy was introduced in 1979 but lifted in 2015. Interestingly, though, their birth rate didn't climb after the end of that policy. It has remained steady at roughly 1.7. The other thing they said to take into consideration about growing population is that the issue isn't so much about birth, but rather about dying. This is a point that I want us to get at today. That they have concluded that they cannot control the population. Okay, that it's not about the birth rate; it's about the death rate, because people are not dying as fast as they think that they should die. Right? Today, people are living longer. All right. And I want you to think about when the coronavirus first came in. What did they say? They said that according to Fauci and all of them, that it was really directed, towards the elderly. The elderly would have been, the most at risk, is what they said, right? And so you really have to wonder, right? Wonder what is really happening. What is really happening? And I have a video here from Bill Gates, and he is asked. They ask him, does saving more lives lead to overpopulation? So just listen to what he has to say.
In this year's annual letter, Melinda and I take the toughest questions we get asked and give our answers. One that's come up for a long time is, as we make the world healthier, is the population going to get so big that feeding everybody and maintaining the environment is going to be impossible? Here we can see a chart that looks at the total world population over the last several hundred years. And at first glance, this is a bit scary. We go from less than 1 billion in 1800, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.4 billion where we are today is happening even faster. So Melinda and I wondered whether providing new medicines and keeping children alive, would that create more of a population problem? What we found out is that as health improves, families choose to have less children. And this effect is very, very dramatic. We find that in every country of the world, this is repeated. The population growth goes down as we improve health. So we've taken that chart that shows the global population growth, and we've actually extended it out all the way to 2100. And we can see that instead of continuing, it actually flattens out. Another way to see that is through this rate of population growth. And you can see that in the 60s, that reached a pretty high number, over 2% per year. And it's now come way, way down. Now, 11 billion people, still a lot, but the good news is that the faster we improve health, the faster family size goes down. And so we can feel great about saving those lives.
Now, I shared. Can you hear me? I shared that that clip with you because I wanted you to see that population control is
Bill
on
Gates
the
helped
mind.
usher in the digital revolution of Microsoft.
Okay,
He spent decades since
I feel like
exploring
I'm
and
stuck.
investing in
Can you hear
innovative
me?
solutions to some of the world's toughest problems: global poverty,
Something
disease,
else
and the coronavirus
is playing.
pandemic, which he spent nearly $2 billion on. Now he's focusing on climate
Okay.
change, agreeing with the overwhelming majority of scientists who
All
warn
right.
of a looming
I'm
climate
trying to get
disaster.
that stopped.
The good news is Gates
I'm
believes
stuck.
it's possible to prevent a catastrophic rise in temperature.
Okay. All right. I think we're sorted out. Sorry about that. The point I'm trying to make is how this issue of population control is on the minds of these people. That is the point I'm trying to make. And so when people start to speak about these things, we're told it's conspiracy theory, right? It's conspiracy theory. Nobody wants to control the population. Nobody wants to depopulate the earth. But I mean, this is a concern for them. Dave, any thoughts about that?
Yes, yes, yes. As you said, it is foremost on their minds, right? And it is all in the name of quality of life. As the eugenicist says, the same Bill Gates is a known eugenicist. That's a fact. And his father was. It's a history. It's in their family history where their focus in life is on population control and the whole concept of inferior genes. You know, you have to be skeptical. You have to take everything they say with a pinch of salt because of that underlying devious and negative and disturbing concept of categorizing people based on inferior genes.
Mm,
That's very, that's very low. If we believe in humanity, we either believe in humanity or we don't believe in humanity.
mm-hmm,
And the concept of getting rid of people with inferior genes, there's no such thing as an inferior gene.
mm-hmm,
Okay, and again, it all depends on the lens that you look through. All depends on what lens you're looking through. They are the rich and the famous, and they are, if it was that the average man on the street was saying this,
mm-hmm,
then okay, well, all of us are concerned with population control. But it's not us who are concerned, but it's the elite. It's the ones who have the majority of the world's wealth, and they're the ones who are focused on population control. Why? Because it's simple. We've seen these things before. They don't want to continue the donations and having to take care of the poor countries, the poor nations. I mean, look at Africa. They really would love to get rid of all the Africans. And there's a show that I know you want to do where it's a fact that the majority of the resources of the world lie in Africa. The gold, the gems, the minerals, the natural metals are found in Africa. Why is Africa one of the poorest places in the world? Because they rape the continent. They rape the continent and take all the good stuff out of
mm-hmm,
Africa. They take the raw materials, they add value to them. The value add chain doesn't happen in Africa. The value add chain happens in Europe and the US. The cocoa, all the chocolate, Hershey's, Cadbury, those cocoa beans come from Africa, and then they add the value in the UK and the US and the Europe, and then they send those things back to us at marked up prices. So that's their objective, to
mm-hmm,
be able to continue to amass wealth, right? And then get rid of the shaft of the world, the ones that don't add much value that we have to feed. They don't want to have to feed certain countries and certain populations. Get rid of the poor in India. get rid of the poor in Pakistan, get rid of the poor in the Caribbean, get rid of the poor in Africa, get rid of them, reduce the population by a few billion, so that just the creme de la creme are
Correct.
left. The creme de la creme are left to enjoy the planet, and
Mhm.
that's what they want. It
Yeah, you
happened
see,
in
you see, Dave, that's part of their what they call the reset.
the
That is the
reset.
reset.
Yes,
And this is what the World Economic Forum, that's why they're also pushing the climate change, this whole climate control. They're pushing that. And we need people to understand that one of their objectives is population control. It is because there is a big concern of them that they could do all of these. We could recycle all that we want. We could control emissions. We could do all of that, but they truly believe that it's not enough, that there are too many people on planet Earth. And so we have to be very, very wary. And I'm concerned about our Caribbean leaders. I'm concerned about them, Dave, because I don't know when they go to these summits and conferences and feel that it is, they're taking these pictures with these people and feeling so important. What are they signing on to? What are they signing us up for here in the Caribbean? It makes me wonder, because it is definitely all we have to do is do a little research, and we are going to be able to see that it is part of the plan. Okay,
correct,
yeah,
correct.
population control.
Well, let me ask a question. When there's a problem, um, sometimes what you do is you throw out a competition to the people. It says, okay, we have a problem here. Can you guys give a suggestion on how we solve it? Nobody came to the people and asked the people, how do you think we can manage the world population? How do you think we can manage the resources? There could have been a competition. There could have been, every country could have had some kind of pooling of ideas, forums where the masses get a chance to say what should happen. No, no, you never heard of anything of that. The leaders, go off in the corner and they make the decisions for the rest of us,
Yeah.
and we are supposed to follow them. No,
But and
sounds fishy.
yeah, and the thing is, guys, is that they have realized that the birth rate is reducing. We're not having children the way that we normally have children. Everybody knows that. So the birth rate is reducing. So how else are you going to control the population growth? How else? It has to be the death rate. It has to be the death rate. How else? And they have recognized that people are not dying as fast as they used to die, right? So how else are they going to control it? I don't know if anybody wants to chime in on that. How are they planning to do it if they can't? If already the birth rate isn't climbing, right? The fertility rate isn't climbing. So what other ways are we then going to control the population on the earth? And if you're telling me that this is linked to climate control, what are we going to do? And this is the way of the future. Going green is the way of the future. Climate control, climate change, all of this is the way of the future. So what's the plan here? I see Bernard. I have a video here to play, but I see Bernard Pooler saying here that I wonder if the governments have raided the social security funds and can no longer meet pension liability to the aging population. It may therefore be best to get them out of the way. We don't know. It might work in their. They might believe that that works in their favor, right? Yeah. So let's listen to this video here from Bill Gates talking about what could cause in a single year an excess of 10 million deaths. Remember, we're talking here about population control.
The things that are out there, what could cause an excess in a single year of 10 million deaths? Now, clearly, a big war could, and a pandemic, natural or created by bioterror. The natural pandemic, the last gigantic one, was 100 years ago. We are healthier today, but the speed of travel and therefore the speed of global spread, that works against us. But in some ways, the bioterror thing scares me the most. All it takes is one small terrorism group Those groups have used things like anthrax that are non-human to human transmissible, and as yet, thank goodness, they've never been able to build or get their hands on a nuclear weapon.
Are you nervous about your own life and what could happen?
This thing will get a lot of countries before it gets to the U.S., but even the U.S. has to think about its global health security. It's a government thing to decide, okay, this is a problem. How do you move resources around? How do you allocate the scarce supplies? When an epidemic hits, governments having been prepared in advance and going through simulations, that will help them make the decisions that are only in their hands.
Oh wow, Dave, you heard that? You heard that? So they have already thought about how they could reduce this this population, and he talks about simulations, and I'm going to play a video. This is one of those shows that you really have to sit, you have to listen. I'm going to show you one of those videos. Where he's actually, I'm showing you where there was a simulation of the pandemic twice, of this very pandemic twice. Yeah. Any thoughts, Dave, on that video?
I want to see the video that you're showing now. I don't have anything to add on that. It's pretty clear, pretty explicit.
Wow. Tokens is saying by getting rid of those they consider to be useless and are age. What is this? I can't need to put on my glasses. And are dependent on the state for survival. Okay. So they're getting rid of those that they considered are useless and dependent on the state for survival. If all you remember, the first place they wanted to test out the vaccine was where? Wasn't it Africa there?
Yes, it was. It was. That's the first place they wanted to go. But we said no. Token says, yes, get rid of all the Africans and steal the continent's riches for themselves. Sell us out, as was done before. That's what the leaders want to do.
Okay, so here we come. We're coming now with that video.
On Friday, months before the pandemic was declared. On Friday, October 18, 2019, months before the pandemic was declared, a meeting was held at the Pierre Hotel in New York City for a select group of about 130 very important guests, including politicians and the world's most respected medics and pharmacists. The purpose of the meeting was to simulate the possible scenarios in the event of a global pandemic. This could be a coincidence, you might say. For this simulation, however, a coronavirus was used as an example. The simulation covered in detail how the coronavirus would develop and how they could only control this through the intensive collaboration of entire industries, governments, and government agencies. Once again, a new world order to save us from destruction. Does it surprise you when I tell you that this meeting, called Event 201, was organized by none other than the World Economic Forum, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the Johns Hopkins Institute? This is not a conspiracy theory. Check the official website of Event 201 for yourself. Perhaps at this point, it will no longer surprise you that the German Robert Koch Institute, which like every national health institute in the world is closely linked to the WHO, which is funded by Bill Gates, created a similar simulation in 2012. As was the case during Event 201, the simulation assumed a coronavirus. This simulation assumed that in a Southeast Asian food market, a coronavirus would spread from animal to human. How coincidental, isn't it? In this simulation, it takes several weeks for the authorities to identify the virus, allowing it to spread worldwide. The simulation is made of the consecutive 3 years, in which there are lockdowns and economies are destroyed. But also the impact on society is simulated in all aspects, even the protests. I won't tire you with the details. In fact, you can download this analysis for yourself from the website of the German government.
Wow. So isn't that
On
interesting?
Friday, October 18,
This is so very interesting that twice, not once, but twice, that there was a simulation of what we are facing today. Isn't that interesting, Dave?
Absolutely so. Absolutely so. And I saw a movie called Contagion. That was an exact replica of what we are seeing today. And that movie was made long before 2019. So they knew. They all knew. They all know what they're doing. It's all a plan. It's not coincidental. It's they know what they're doing. It's us. It's just us that are now catching up.
Yeah.
We're not playing catch up.
And people want to, are quick to say that, it's conspiracy theory, but all of this, I've checked it out. You can go online and look for Event 201. This was in 2019, guys. And this was a simulation of what we are facing today. It's a simulation of this virus. And this was done in 2019. And it was organized by, the World Economic Forum and Bill and Melinda Gates. Those names were called. And remember, the World Economic Forum, they have a mandate, they have a plan, they have an objective that by 2030 they're going to reset this entire world. And part of that reset is a depopulation of the earth, because these elites have decided that we have too many people on the earth, and we need to get rid of some of them so that we can have a pleasant earth, and that we can continue to live, and all will be well, as what they say, that we will be happy and we own nothing. Right? So that is the plan. And this is why this was planned, guys. This was planned. This was not something that just occurred. This was planned, put together and planned. Okay? And in Germany, they had many years before that. They also had that simulation in Germany. Yeah. Guys who are watching, did you know about these simulations? Did you know about the Event 201? Did you know about the Robert Bock University, where in Germany, where they had the other simulation? So we're planned. We're planned for. Right there, we're planned for.
Yeah, yeah. Someone in the chat said that we are made in God's image, so none of us are inferior. So that whole concept is flawed. The whole premise on which everything is circulating is being done is flawed. That they are inferior genes, and if we are all made in God's images, none of us are flawed. None of us are less than the other. The whole concept of equality. So they're preaching equality over through talking through their mouth about equality this and equality that. But at the back of their heart, in the back of their mind, or deep in their hearts, they really, really do believe that some are superior and some are inferior.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore there's no reason to allow them to lead us or to follow where they are trying to lead us, because we know that their motives are less than honorable. Their motives are way less than honorable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Correct. And as I said, the concern that I have is, it's really disheartening that we have not heard some of these things from our leaders, our Caribbean leaders. They are blindly, to me, just watching, they are blindly going ahead, and one has to wonder why. Why? If we are average people and we can see the correlation, we can see, all you have to do, go on go on Google and type in Event 201, and you will see that this was something that was planned before. and it's happening to a T. Actually, the Robert Bach, their simulation talked about a lab in China, and it talks about every single thing that was in the media about COVID-19. Okay, it was talked about in that simulation. But here it is, we have our world leaders, they're rubbing shoulders with the top leaders in Glasgow at this climate change summit. And we're thinking, oh, this is such an achievement. We have achieved, and all of these things that's happening, right? We have the Jamaican Prime Minister, the Bahamian Prime Minister. There was another picture. There's another picture of the Antiguan Prime Minister, who is the chair of CARICOM. So they have bought this thing hook, line, and sinker, and there doesn't seem like there's anybody dissenting among them. Nobody to pull them back, and we don't know. They're gone to these conferences, and when they come back, is this where all the mandates are not going to come out, because they have no signed on to what the World Economic Forum is doing and the plan for 2030. These are the concerns that I believe that a lot of us have. Tokens is saying they're only interested in the financial benefits to them. They don't care about the citizens at all. We are just the means to an end for them. Bernard Pula is asking, how do we stop the process here in the Caribbean? Can we control or influence our politicians, or is it already too late? What do you all think?
But Marcy, I mean, if you look back to our past Prime Minister, Ariel Walton Barrow, when he made a statement and he acted on it, that we will be friends of all but satellites of none. And that is exactly the opposite of what we're seeing. Our leaders today are satellites of those. They go to these conferences and they literally echo what the conferences are saying. They're not challenging in any meaningful way what they are trying to do. We've become satellites. We've become whatever the big nations say, we just do it. We just fall over, bend over, and we do what they say. So that kind of leadership, we don't have that. We're not seeing it anymore. And even those in Africa, and the guy in Haiti who stood up and says, no, we're not taking the vaccines, and as you see what happened to him. So there's a price to pay. The question is, are our leaders willing to pay the price, to be counted, to do what's right, to do what's just? That's the question to be asked.
Yes, most definitely. This, I believe all of this is leading. There is a plan, obviously, and it's leading to the total domination of people, control of people, and we're seeing it played out in Australia. And this is a video that has been going around on WhatsApp by a pastor in Australia that made the video. And I want those of you who are listening, to comment on the video. I'm sure some of you might have already seen it, but I believe that this is really where we're heading. I really believe that.
Which people are controlled, first of all, frighten people, and secondly, demoralize them. An educated, healthy, and confident nation is harder to govern. And I think there's an element in the thinking of some people. We don't want people to be educated, healthy, and confident, because they would get out of control. The top 1% of the world's population own 80% of the world's wealth. It's incredible that people put up with it, but they're poor, they're demoralized, they're frightened, and therefore they think perhaps the safest thing to do is take orders and hope for.
Yeah. That control, it's not the video that I wanted. I will find that one with an Australian that definitely doesn't have an Australian accent, but the whole thing is about we're going towards control. And that is really, really what is happening, with our people. Andrew Simpson says, Dave, what major issues do you suggest Caribbean leaders discuss and conduct preemptive and discuss and conduct preemptive planning now? I don't know if you understand the question, Dave.
Yes. What major issues do you suggest Caribbean leaders discuss and conduct preemptive planning now? Um, there are a lot of issues that Caribbean leaders can discuss. The issue of the power that and the wealth that lies in Africa, the issue of relinking back to Africa, for the simple reason that that's where the resources of the world is coming from. There's a lot of resources that sit in Africa. There is the market. There is a huge population in Africa that if the Caribbean leaders were to focus on African unity, if the Caribbean leaders were to focus on relinking back to Africa, and if we were to form a union between the Caribbean and Africa, which actually is forming, has formed, there is the state of the African diaspora, which is the ECO6, which is recognizing the diaspora as the sixth region of Africa. If our leaders were to focus their attention there, as opposed to on the Eurocentric, non African leadership, and forge a power base in that sphere of world thinking, then we could challenge. Because the numbers are in Africa, the resources are in Africa, the brains are in Africa. There's no such thing as an inferior gene. There's such quality uh, in Africa. There's so much going on in Africa, and there's so much potential in the Caribbean. If we were to unite, if our leaders were to focus and not pay lip service to that unity, then we could be a block, could become a block that can challenge the world. And because of the resources in Africa that they need so badly, right? If you research, there's so much billions of dollars that are sent to France from Africa. One French leader said that if the resources that come from Africa to France were to stop, France would become a third world nation. So right now, Africa is pouring billions of dollars into the US, into Europe. Their museums are filled with African artifacts. There's so much dependency on Africa by the world and the world leaders that if we were to come together as an African bloc, the entire diaspora and Africa come together, there could be a whole change in philosophy. If we were to work as a community and be united, then things could change. But so far, our leaders have gone cap in hand back to the colonials, sitting with them and being influenced by them, by people do not have our interests at heart. And that's the bottom line. They do not have our interests at heart, but yet we are very proud and happy to attend these summits. And we feel very proud to hold the hands and to be seen in shots with these world leaders who historically has not have the interests of the Caribbean at heart, and who certainly does not have Africa's interests at heart. So that's one thing I would say. I would suggest we can shift our attention in that direction, and maybe we will see some wonderful results, some great results.
Correct. Thank you, Dave. And I don't know, anybody else have any other suggestions? Listen, let's have a discussion here today, on what our Caribbean leaders, how they can plan for what is coming. I have another video here, and this might shed some light, and you can give your feedback on this, on how to fight back. Okay, so let's watch this one.
I hope to reach you, to reduce the ever-increasing distance between us. Only when we are divided can the elite retain its power over us. The greatest fear of the elite is that we will realize what is really going on Earth. And the only way the elite thinks they can prevent this from happening is through censorship, preventing human contact, the incessant framing of political opponents and those who think differently. And the use of brute force. The plans of the elite are clear, and so is the ruthless way in which they want to accomplish them. If we allow this to happen, a new society will be built on the ashes of what we once knew. A new society in which we will own nothing, not even a home of our own. The elite wants to make sure that between now and 2030, everything you now own will be theirs. For this, a devastating economic crisis is necessary. First, the middle class is attacked, which is the backbone of society. Entrepreneurs are forced to go into tremendous debt, which will ultimately cause them to lose all their possessions. After that, things will move quickly. Banks will fall, cash money will cease to exist, and the only way not to starve to death will be the acceptance of government support, which will include several conditions, such as the vaccination passport and giving up all private possessions. Because the entrepreneurs are the first to fall, many others won't immediately feel the crisis. The people remain divided among themselves until it is too late. This is not a doomsday scenario that I've made up. This is simply the Great Reset, the New World Order, which has been prepared for many generations and which has been extensively tested in every communist dictatorship in the world. But this can also go a different direction, and instead of a great reset, we can cause a great awakening and create a world where no one has to go hungry and where we can live in a sustainable way, in freedom with each other and with nature. This is not an idealistic daydream. There have always been forces that have sought to break the power of the elite, but until recently, our means of communication were always insufficient to get a mass network in motion. The elite have always kept us in ignorance about the discoveries of geniuses such as Tesla, who was far advanced in the field of clean, free energy, or Dr. Rife, who used radio waves to cure at least 16 terminal cancer patients before he, just as Tesla, died in a suspicious manner. Or Henry Ford, who in 1941 had already made a car out of bioplastic that proved stronger than steel. The elite have hidden countless such techniques from us because they form a threat to their monopolies in every industry. These were techniques that would have given us freedoms and put the elite's power at risk, which is based on our fear and dependence on their products. These are not conspiracy theories, but facts. What I am saying is that a world of new possibilities is opening up for all of us, where there is no poverty, no pollution, diseases, or wars, and in which governments work for the welfare of the people rather than the other way around. Countless ailments that provide the pharma industry with hundreds of billions of dollars will be cured. No one will have to work their ass off to live a dignified life. People will no longer live in fear because of the lies of the media, the pharma industry, the climate lobbies, and politicians. It's all on the horizon, but we have to go through the storm first and recognize what the real problem is in our society. I want to thank you for listening to me, and I hope someday, in freedom, together we'll reflect back on this unique moment in history.
I was saying some interesting thoughts there. He said something that they use these four techniques here to push what it is that they want to push, the elites: censorship, right? And the decrease in human contact, which is what is happening right now. Framing of those who think differently. You think differently, and they put a label on you, and brute force, right? And he's saying that how we break it is that we start to come together. And I think that's what you were saying earlier, right, Dave?
Yes. Brute force, they have their techniques, and the whole thing is intimidation. Intimidation. Once they can intimidate you, then they have you in their corner. They have you on the bottom of their feet, and then they can do whatever they choose to do with you. But thank God, he also said that back in the day that, and as I said that before, there are groups, there are agencies who are fighting this. But the problem back in the day was there wasn't the communication. Now we're able to communicate and link up and join each other and encourage each other and build. We have this interface now where we can see what we are all doing, and we have these videos and these clips, the TikToks and the WhatsApps that allow us to communicate, and therefore we have that opportunity now to make a difference. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hammer Films. I'm looking for the comment she said earlier. She had a comment earlier. She's saying, which is why we have to have our own plan, right? The
Yes.
question is, do we have our own plan? What is the plan that we have? Are we going to push and come together? She's in Antigua, we're here in Barbados. People are watching from different places. Are we going to push past everything and come together? Is the thing, if their intention is to depopulate the earth. When you think about it, these are people just like us, and believe that they have the power to put this world together that they want to live in.
To reset it.
They reset it.
To reset
To
a world that's not
reset it.
theirs. It's not their world. They want to reset it.
They want to reset it. They want to reset it. But we just thought that I wanted us to continue looking beyond the pandemic and behind the pandemic, and understand that this was a plan. They have a plan in place. I want you to understand that there's a connection between, climate change and climate control and depopulation of the earth and COVID-19, and that it's all come together. We see where Bill Gates was saying what was he saying? That one of the greatest, one of the ways that you could get this done in a year, you could 10 million people. We could use 10 million people in a year. I've read the articles which would say that, guess what, the birth rate is decreasing, it's reducing. It's the death rate that is not reducing. So in order to one would conclude then that in order to control the population, that one would have to deal with the death rate. And it begs the question: is that what is happening now? Is that what we are using this time to do now? Is this what is happening in our time? And I really think we did a show on Wednesday about coming off the grid, and we're getting a lot of calls about that as well. And so I'm thinking that we have to, as Hammer Films is saying, from Antigua, we have to have our own plan. What is our own plan? Yeah.
And I just want to say, on the note of having our own plan, there is work being done. Um, I want to, as we leave, as we get ready to go, I just wanted to leave people with this note, and you can go and do your research. There's a currency called the African Kingdom Lumi, which is a currency that is coming out of Jamaica, Maroon Town, the Maroons in Jamaica, and it's a worldwide currency. You can investigate it, and the idea is that we can have our own currency, and therefore unhitch from the U.S. dollar, unhitch from that scenario, and create our own plan, our own economic um, enterprises, our own economic zone. The Eco 6 zone is the zone of the African Economic Zone, and that is another forum that is working, that is coming together, and we need to investigate, do the research, do our research, and as Hammerfilm says, let's plan, let's have something in place so that we are not left with nothing. So you can do the research on the African Kingdom Lumi and the Eco 6. These are things that are happening today, and that if you find that it's useful to you, get involved, so that we can have that plan and go forward from there.
Yeah. And I'm here actually trying my utmost best to show to everybody a drug that I have found in Barbados, and I'm trying to get it up on the screen, but I'm not successful. But if you could look at my phone, oh wow, it's not there anymore. Okay, so that's it. This drug on anybody knows of this? Okay, I'm so sorry. I tried to get it up on the screen, and I'm not getting through. But this drug here, VIF 10, and and it's completely herbal. And what I'm hearing, that this is the herbal version to the ivermectin, and this is in Barbados, right? This is in Barbados, the VIF10. And what I can say about this, I know of at least 3 families that were down with the coronavirus, and they used this drug, this herbal medicine was used, and in 24 hours they were back on their feet. I know of personally, I spoke with someone this morning, and who's taking care of someone, and they're about 90 years old, and this person was had took it and was now up making tea, and that 90-year-old woman is doing quite good. So I always use a show to talk about any kind of remedies that's out there, and it's all herbal. And you, as far as I know, at the moment, you can get it at Amaze. I know people are buying it in the bottles. And the thing about this, some of these people, they're not even they're not even going they're treating themselves at home. They're treating themselves at home and getting better. So we have to have a plan. Somebody said, what is our plan? We're going to continue with some of these herbal stuff that we're doing, that we're working with, and continue to take care of ourselves. I don't know, Dave, you've heard about that drug?
Only in this last week, only in this last week, the first time I'm seeing it. I was actually looking for it on my computer to show. Only in this last week I've heard about it, but it's amazing what it's doing, and just go to show that the authorities they're not really interested in helping the people. They're pushing an agenda. It's really an agenda, because that is something right here under our noses, and can heal people or resolve the issue in a few days. I mean, come on. We didn't have the people that died didn't have to die. They didn't have to die. You know, a little bit of research could have provided these kind of solutions. And there are so many other solutions. We have so many remedies out there. So many remedies out there. The I word that you can't call in the hydrochloric. There's so many remedies out there that it is obvious that there is an agenda, and people are choosing not to listen or to ignore the science. It's just obvious.
Correct. And somebody wanted to know the cost. You can check Amaze in Barbados. And if you're not in Barbados, you would just search for Dave. I sent it to you by the picture via WhatsApp. So let's see if you can probably share it. And share it in the using the, as we normally do when we're sharing, using the Chrome tab, and see if we'll be able to get that on the screen. I always want to share with you anything that I've found out. Seeing Sawick from Trinidad, Sawick Media from Trinidad, and the cost of it, it's I know for sure that it's over $63. Okay, it's more a little bit more than that. I don't know the exact. Yes, this is it here. Thank you, Dave. This is it here, the VIF10, and you can take a picture of this. And I know that it's 60 something dollars for it, Barbados dollars for it. And, you can use it as a prophylactic. And you can use it while if you have contracted the virus. Okay. So this is what I'm being told. A lot of people are buying bottles of this right now, and they have very limited supply. And you can call Amaze, in Barbados. I don't know if it's in other countries. This actually is from India, and Dave, in India they now have the coronavirus is now under control. The pandemic is under control in a lot of the states in India. I don't know if it's all over India, but in a lot of the states in India. So we are lucky to have this here in Barbados. And I know that there are other persons apart from Amaze that will be carrying it as well. So you can check around for it.
And others can bring it in. If there are any persons here or importers, they can bring it in to help the people.
Yes, other importers can bring it in. Next week, on Wednesday, I'm going to have a brother from Jamaica, and he is going to show us pictures of his home and how they live off the grid in Jamaica. So you saw what we did on Wednesday. We were looking at living off the grid here in Barbados, where Michelle Edwards from St. John, and she was showing you the pictures of how she does it. And we had some technical issues, but we're going to go. It's going to be up on our Facebook page. We've re-recorded it, and we're going to put it up on the Facebook page. And we have pieces that we're going to be sending out. Small portions that you can pass on through WhatsApp and continue to send out the information, so that we're going to continue to do that. But we have someone from Jamaica on Wednesday, right? So Wednesday at 1 p.m. we will have someone from Jamaica, and he is going to talk about Ruel. His name is Ruel, and he's going to be talking about how he lives off the grid. And I'm excited about that, because we always have to figure out what is the plan. What is the plan? How are we going to move forward? All right. So that is important living off the grid. And this was Michelle Edwards on the Marcia Week show. And you are going to be able to see that before the end of the day. You will be able to see that on my Facebook page, and we will send it out to others as well. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. Any final words that you want to share before we go?
Just for us to take charge of our own destiny, and not to depend on our leaders wholesale. Not that we don't depend on leadership. We do need leaders, but no longer can we depend on our leaders wholesale. But we also have to do our research. We have to investigate and find out what's going on up there, because we are Barbados in the Caribbean. We are a small dot, on the world scale. So there are things going on outside of Barbados and outside of Jamaica and the Caribbean that are of benefit, that can help us. Not everything is bad. There are good things happening, but we just have to tune into those good things and look for them and research them and get on board. Again, there's stuff going on between the Caribbean and Africa, the diaspora in Africa. That's an area that we can look into, and research what's happening in that sphere of the world. And there are things we can do. As Marcia says, let's work our work while we have the time to do it. That's my goal for the day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dave. And wherever we are in the world, let's continue to come together. Let's continue to have hope. Let's continue to have faith. Let's remove the fear, because that's one of the tactics that they're using, and decide that, listen, we're going to come together. We're going to work together. We're going to fight it. Let's fight back. All right. All right. God bless you all, and have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.